Excellent. Thank you, Adrian. So I'd like to provide some further macro-level context to what we're seeing. Looking at the global shifts with renewable energy and energy storage, and looking at what that's meaning for the mining community and the opportunities it presents. I'd then like to share with you the journey that Sunshift has been on, and we're working on one piece of the puzzle to enable cost-competitive short-term power purchase agreements, and how really a deep level of collaboration and engagement with this mining community has shaped our commercial and technical offer. So certainly energy has been front-page news of late. Here are the front pages from one of the Australian newspapers just over the last 6 months that have a headline relating to energy. And a lot of those articles are talking directly to the criticality of reliable and low-cost power for our mining community. And that is a mining community that has significant energy requirements. So just here's one snapshot. Electricity demands of individual miners are comparable to that of entire countries. So in this room, we effectively have some national energy ministers. And we know that energy is a major performance driver, as we saw earlier. Energy cost often accounts for 20% or more of a mining company's total operating costs. So actually, let's just step back and look beyond mining. Well, we're seeing our global energy supply shift. This was our energy mix in 1975, mostly coal, oil, and natural gas, and now evolving to present day. Solar and wind aren't alternative forms of energy anymore. They're mainstream, and they're coming to the fore just when we need them most. But they still need a lot more investment to deploy them if we're going to meet climate targets. So mass adoption of clean technologies has resulted in significant price reductions so that their adoption is now driven by economics. Here's a plot showing the reduction in the levelized cost of energy, the LCOE, of utility-scale solar PV. This is 30 megawatt scale, 30-year life. The LCOE of a new system now is 85% less than a new system in 2009. And I should note that this is taken from a white paper that we're launching at this summit together with ARENA. It's a culmination of our learnings, and hard copies are available at the Sunshift stand outside and also to download from the Energy and Mines website. And we're seeing similar cost reductions in energy storage. So this plot shows the levelized cost of storage, LCOS, for various technologies under different applications. So we've got blue is the current cost for power response, and orange is the current cost for energy shifting. The projected costs in 5 years are shown in red, and they're all 25 to 50% less than current costs today. And I think the mass market shift in energy technology is no better demonstrated than by the battery electric vehicle market. So back in 2008, you had just one choice, a sports car, the Tesla Roadster, with a range of a little over 200 miles on a single charge. But in 2009, other cars were launched, runabouts and small vans with different ranges. This is 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and today, 2017. Now you've got a wide range, and by 2020, there'll be over 120 different models for you to choose from. And I think Norway demonstrates really how rapidly things are changing. So back in 2011, just 1% of new car sales had a plug, and now it's 29%. So it appears that people aren't necessarily so wedded to their petrol or diesel vehicles as long as the alternative provides equal or better performance at equal or lower price. So things are changing fast. They're changing very fast. And these changes can be harnessed by our mining community and significant benefits achieved. So in fact, we could add a new row to that plot of battery electric vehicles. We could add mining vehicles, because here is a battery electric underground loader launched recently. And the manufacturer claims that it outperforms diesel machines. 0 underground emissions and less heat, lowering ventilation costs. And unlike other electric options, it operates cable-free. So imagine with renewable electricity charging up the batteries, you're actually then operating fossil-free. And on that renewable electricity, as an industry together, we do have a great milestone to celebrate today. So since the last Energy in Mind Summit, we've actually tipped over the 1 gigawatt mark for installed solar and wind at mines globally. So that's, of course, addition to the significant hydro already deployed. I personally believe that we are at the very start of a significant transition and opportunity by the mining sector, because that 1 gigawatt of wind and solar represents less than 0.1% of the mining sector's total energy use. But as we have heard at Energy in Mind's events previously, there is a fundamental problem to be solved. We have a very well-known mismatch. The low LCOE values we saw earlier are underpinned by a long asset life, by spreading the capital over 20 to 30 years of production. But miners, for very good reasons, have a preference for short-term power purchase agreements, driven in particular by mine life. And at the last summit, we heard a renewable project developer say one of the main challenges was ensuring that we could give the miner the cost savings that they wanted. The main constraint with that is the mine life. We also heard one of the leading IPPs say, the life of the mine impacts the economics of the solar, because if you're trying to sell solar power with the assumption that you want to amortize the plant in 5 years, you might not provide any value to the mining company. You might not even match their energy costs. And then if we go back to 2015, we also heard a financier say, if you have a 20-year PPA with a mine that has a 15-year mine life, we're probably going to have a tenor that does not exceed 10 years, because at the end of the day, we don't want to take that reserve risk. And if we just look at Australia, well, this is the mine life situation here. So actually, roughly 70% of the production in Australia has a mine life that is less than the typical 20 to 30 year amortization period of renewable energy infrastructure. So the challenge we have is to offer solar on a short-term PPA at a commercially attractive $1 per megawatt hour rate. And that requires extending the asset's amortization period beyond the PPA duration. And when I first encountered this problem, it seemed to me as a difficult one, but solvable. And I just want to share with you now the journey that I've been on over the last 3 years working on this. So actually, go back 3 years. This is a photo I took in the middle of the night of a diesel generator at a remote site in Queensland. How did I end up here? Well, when I arrived in Australia, I was in awe of the size and the scale of the country, and working for Laing O'Rourke in their research and development group, I had the opportunity to look at their remote construction sites and how they were powered. And the first one I visited was this one. It was a temporary worker camp in the middle of remote Queensland. And I was shocked that the camp was spending over $2,000 per day on diesel fuel. And I became, admittedly, slightly obsessed with understanding the load profile, hence this photo in the middle of the night. And I was talking to the team on site about solar, because I was surprised that it wasn't there. They explained that they had considered it, but they just couldn't make it stand up. And that's because conventional solar, constructed panel by panel in the field, cannot be relocated, and it requires a commitment beyond the life of that camp. So I saw an opportunity here to reshape solar to overcome this. If only the solar could be as modular and as movable as the trusty diesel generator, then we could decouple the asset life from the project life. And I pitched the idea to Paul Ward, general manager at the time of Laing O'Rourke's internal plant hire business. He had over $150 million of assets under his management, and I said, let's divert fuel expenditure towards a fleet of recoverable solar assets. And yeah, he received it very well, and so together we went to ARENA, and very much to ARENA's credit, they were ahead of us. They had already earmarked this as an investment priority. And I actually remember one of the ARENA team getting quite excited and animated and saying, you're solving mine life. And this was very much the start of a great partnering relationship with ARENA. And without ARENA, like many others in the room, we wouldn't be here today. So we quickly learned that a major barrier was actually the warranty of the solar panels. So again, at the last Energy and Mines Summit, one of the largest solar panel OEMs stated that we understand that a solar installation is not movable in many ways. Moving those solar modules is going to avoid the warranty and those kind of things. So therefore, one of the first things we did was to find a fit-for-purpose solar panel from a forward-thinking manufacturer that would work with us through the relocation warranty sign-off. And that due diligence period led us to SunPower, with Australian Managing Director Chris O'Brien in the room today. And these guys have very robust solar cells that you can come and check out at our stand outside. But we also needed a suitable control system for reliably integrating with existing power infrastructure. And we wanted to build off the leading industry expertise rather than try to develop something from scratch. And that's very much what led us to ABB, with head of microgrids, Jürgen Zimmermann. So at this point, our team had developed a minimum viable product, and we wanted to go and demonstrate that back at the camp where I'd been doing my earlier nighttime diesel generator photography. And with ARENA's support, the 120 kilowatt system was installed and integrated with existing diesel generators within just a week of leaving the factory. With the system performing really very well and later packing it up in just 140 person hours, we had the confidence to proceed into the commercialization phase. So we started talking to the mining community to ensure that we were tailoring a technical commercial offering to meet their requirements. And we've been extremely fortunate to engage with many of the individuals and companies in the room today. So I thank you enormously for your feedback, because it's very much shaped our solution today. So from the miners, we actually learned that long mine life mines also like to procure their power on short terms, as it enables them to, one, maintain operational flexibility, but also regularly test the competitiveness of their current power provider in the market. And then with new accounting legislation, it actually reduces the capitalization of lease obligations onto their balance sheets. And it wasn't just the off-grid mines that were interested in short-term solar. Grid-connected mines, particularly those with supply constraints, were very interested. And our solution accommodates a full range of on-grid and off-grid deployment scenarios and different connection typologies. From the miners, we also heard the challenge of scale. Miners talk in megawatts, not kilowatts. So our solution was very much to cascade the modularity up into a megawatt scale architecture. So that's 50 kilowatt arrays coming together to form 1 megawatt blocks, each block with a fully recoverable inverter bank and compact substation. Multiple blocks then coming together on a high voltage ring main, all pre-engineered, all prefabricated off-site, and then that means very rapid on-site assembly. So actually, we should just take a quick look at the module level. And here you can see a Cyclone and Australian standards compliant solar module being installed and removed. So that's the structural beams, 2 kilowatts of high performance solar panels, DC wiring and earthing being installed in less than 1 minute, and raised off the ground to avoid vegetation, shading, and flood risk, and ready to be compactly stacked up with other modules into a container and transported away should the PPA not extend. But if the PPA does extend, the equipment can stay in one location for its full 25-year asset life. But from the miners, we also heard the challenge of scalability. The miners we spoke to wanted to start on the journey Start now with a low penetration system and then have the ability to grow that over time as they become increasingly comfortable with hybridization technologies and as the economics of solar PV and energy storage further improves. So our solution was very much to enable that incremental hybridization pathway. We can cater from 0% all the way up to 100% renewable energy contribution. Simply start with a few blocks now, and through a collaborative annual contract review mechanism, the customer can then trigger the addition of further blocks over time. Finally, the critical thing that we learned from our engagement with the miners was the need for single point accountability for power. The miners don't want a separated solar PPA and fossil PPA, rather an integrated solution from the IPP. So our solution is very much to work with the IPP, and that engagement has been extremely positive. It's actually highlighted an opportunity to differentiate their offer, but also provide them with a new asset class that can grow their share of wallet. So the IPPs currently only see, say, 20% of their customers' power bills. The remaining 80% is spent directly with the fuel supplier. Recoverable solar is a new asset class that can divert some of that expenditure towards IPP expenditure, thereby increasing the IPP's share of wallet. And the IPPs like this. We're forming strategic partnerships with significant IPPs so that they can own this new asset class. There's also many interesting financing nuances to work through. Thankfully, there are institutions such as the Clean Energy Finance Corporation that are very much here to seed innovative financing approaches. And with SunShift being a technical solution to mitigate stranded asset risk, we've actually learned that we're extremely relevant to emerging markets. And conventional solar projects often struggle with their financeability in those markets. And in April, the international climate finance community recognized SunShift as a solution by awarding us the Finance for Resilience Award at the Bloomberg Future of Energy Summit in New York. And we're now in dialogue with the likes of the World Bank and the IFC. And reassuringly, there are others that are working to reshape solar as a recoverable asset. For example, I suggest people take a look at Redavia and 5B Australia. In fact, I'd like to make people aware that there should be a demo of 5B's 12 kilowatt scale system taking place in a nearby park tomorrow. So just like there is a range of recoverable diesel generators, a range of recoverable solar providers will emerge, and that is quite exciting, I think. The large addressable market certainly requires multiple players, and we will all benefit from the competition. So we've invested heavily in product development to both minimize our whole-of-life costs and maximize the asset life. And this has enabled us to now offer short-term PPAs at competitive rates, better than diesel fuel parity. And we can offer low termination fees because we can simply pack it up and relocate it. So really, there is no reason not to begin the transition. And we have now scaled up our supply chain to rapidly manufacture and deliver blocks anywhere in the world. The first block is arriving in Australia later this year, and we'll be hosting a showcase event for the mining community. And that's really to bring people together, to build trust, to witness the speed of construction, the recoverability, and the ease of integration. And we'll actually be seeking to set some world records at that event. So I have the pleasure of working with an outstanding team, 6 of whom are here today. I'll just ask to raise their arms. They're all sitting in the middle there. Really, we've been driven by a cause, a belief that if we could figure out this mine life thing, then it has the potential to change the course of energy in mines. So it's now really just a matter of who is going to be the first and pioneer this. It is a different approach. It is disruptive. It requires strong people to buck the trend and champion it. But once it happens, we believe the floodgates will open for a solar solution that is as fit for purpose as the trusty diesel generator. And my closing remark, I'd just like to say that this new asset class, recoverable solar, does have relevance for some of the world's poorest people currently locked into dirty and expensive diesel power. How good would it be if the uptake in the mining sector helped seed an appropriate technology for that market too. Thank you very much.